When you started playing instruments, you started in the band program at school, even before you played the bass or played guitar or anything like that.
Yeah.
And tell me about how you actually got into that.
Well, from my stepdad and the jazz that I heard and that really affected me, and just the idea of playing music seemed fun to me. And I used to have a book when I was a kid that was in the house. It was a pictorial history of jazz by, and I'm not probably going to say the guy's name wrong, Joachim Burnt, whatever.
Okay.
And it had a picture of all these bebop guys and like a short bio and really nice photos by somebody. I don't know, it's probably like William Klein or one of the great jazz photographers, or Claxton. And I used to look at the pictures and read the bios, and I just fell in love with these guys, you know. Pictures of, you know, Dizzy Gillespie and Monk and Richard Davis and Elvin Jones, and I would read about these guys and look at the pictures, and I was just like, these are my heroes. These are the beautiful people that I want to know about. And I went to school, and band class seemed like a good idea. And I just kind of went in there, and they had a cornet, and you can play the cornet if you want. And I really liked this picture of Dizzy Gillespie. And so I was like, I'm going to play the cornet. And I just loved it. It resonated with me. I felt like I was able to feel something warm inside myself. And I grew up in a pretty violent, chaotic household, and there was a lot of difficulty, but I felt a lot of tranquility and just a good feeling about myself when I would blow the horn. And so that's kind of what got me into it. And then I was, even though I never really, you know, we were talking earlier about wanting our kids to have diligence and to pay attention to stuff. I wasn't that good at that. And not out of not loving things, but I was just wild. I was in the street, unwatched, getting into trouble, running around, doing dumb, stupid fucking crimes and all this stuff that I should have been like practicing and learning all my stuff, but I didn't. But I knew what beautiful was, you know what I mean? So I was always had like a yearning to play something beautiful. So I you know, did well in school, and, you know, as good as, you know, evolved as, you know, public school, junior high gets, and then into high school playing the trumpet. And so that's what got me going. And then, and I kind of got, like, I was, you know, kind of a shy, weird kid, and I kind of got, you know, some notoriety for it. I'd always get the solo in band, orchestra class, or whatever, and I won an award for private lessons, and they had this thing called the Scholastic, what is it called again? I can't remember. You go audition, and I got the prize, and got lessons, scholarship for lessons, and then when I got into high school, I you know, became, you know, me and Anthony were best friends, Anthony and Chili Peppers, and when we were 15, and then we met Hillel Slovak, and he became like we became a trio, and we were all really close, you know, being wild teenage boys together. And Hillel played guitar in a rock band, and he wasn't happy with the bass player, and one day he said, why don't you learn to play the bass? And, you know, 2 weeks later, I was on stage on the Sunset Strip, like posing and rocking, and all of a sudden girls talk to me and stuff, and that's kind of it, you know?
That's amazing.
I think a big thing with being a professional musician, like at a certain point, there's a leap of faith. You know, I think it's hard for a musician to, if you want to be a professional musician, it's hard to like be, well, I got this backup stand to be a plan to be a realtor, or to be a, you know what I mean? I'm doing this other stuff because it's a risky profession, and granted, it's risky as fuck, you know what I mean? But I feel like most of the people I know who have done well, they didn't have any backup plan. So it's kind of all or nothing, you know what I mean? Like when you step out to play some music, you're giving it everything you got, you know? And even though I still like, you know, as I got old, it wasn't until I got much older I became like diligent about practicing and stuff.